Eric Burgess here with Music Marketing TV. Today we're taking a look at Amber 2, and what you just heard is one of the 5 patterns we're going to be making with Amber 2. I want to show you how easy it is to compose with this. It's actually really cool. These are among my favorite plugins from UJAM. They are virtual guitarists, and Amber 2 is one of those. It is very, very simple to use. I usually use the player version. There's an instrument version I'm not going to get into here. And the player version is just so cool. So in here, you have a play range. You hit chords in this play range over here. If you hit one note, it'll just pick a chord that makes sense with that note. But you can give it more notes and it'll figure out the chord and adjust it accordingly. So for example, if I gave it C, E flat, G, that's C minor. We get a C minor. Here it is in first inversion and second inversion. So it's got this really intelligent chord engine, and without changing anything else, I could just play a bunch of chords, giving it various amounts of notes, and it will interpret that to create these neat progressions. Let me show you. And away you go, right? So it's really, really intuitive. Now, they come with a series of patterns as well. You see here, there's this style, and you can pick these different styles to choose different, rhythms that it's going to play. So there are style phrases, and then there are common phrases. And you can trigger these with your left hand on the keyboard just by, hitting. So this is with different styles now involved. I'll play the same chord. And you can get those different variations and change them up in real time. So if we vary the chords and the style at the same time, you get some pretty cool results. It's still a little bit of a mind bend for me to sometimes play like this because my left hand tends to like to do harmonically what's relevant on the keyboard. So I have to remember that this is not playing harmonic content. It is playing rhythms. And it's just a little bit. So if you play piano, it's a little bit of a trip. But here we go. And away you go. So you can mix and match them. There are common phrases over here. I tend to like the style phrases more. That's where I like to hang out. It's also just an octave away on the keyboard, so it should make a little more sense. But here are some of the common phrases if we just hang out on a C chord for a bit. And, just the sort of enders, starters, common patterns you'd sort of expect. So we could change the style here with these different presets. They're like MIDI presets, but they vary with the notes we're playing. So they're a little bit more powerful. You have a lot more creative freedom over them, but they take care of sort of the complexity of having to write out all the different, the guitar has 100 ways to pluck a string. And so this sort of handles that for us. So we could go over, let's try out like soar. They have tempos that are with them, but they will match whatever tempo. So I'm at 108. It doesn't quite match this. It doesn't matter. This is just, what this was originally made at. And occasionally I get a wonky chord in there, right? So that's the general of playing notes with this. It sounds great just out of the box. There's a whole bunch of presets in here that you could go after if you want to get something specific. But let's just take a look here at the general controls. So we have here our blend between our pickup and our mic. So here it is on the mic. That's the pickup. We have our character. So this is soft. Here's tame, real, and hard. Depending on what you're making. I'm gonna go over for tame. Thought that one was kind of nice. Tuning is self-explanatory. It's tuning. Yeah, I can get a little crazy. I think it's double click or is it control click? Alt click? It's alt click. You alt click to reset it. Up next, we have variance, the amount of variance in the phrase. This one is, I think, most times pretty subtle. I usually have this all the way up. And then over here we have our stomp box. If you're unfamiliar with guitars, you can plug guitars into effect pedals known as stomp boxes because you literally stomp on them to turn them on and off. They have like foot switches basically. And you can choose a whole bunch of different ones. These are like, there's a ton of effects here. Some of them are gonna make more sense for what you're doing, like phaser sweep probably isn't the call for this. I don't know, maybe it is. If we come up here to booster, so huge color effects here. You could come through here and try them out. I'm gonna largely stay away from stomp box just for this so that our patterns are all just, I just want to show you from a songwriting perspective how easy it is to get variations out. We have finisher. These are also effect, well, this is like an entire effect chain, and these are kind of meant to be on and off. You know, they're to finish a phrase. Is I think the idea behind why they're called that. I do find that some of them work great as just like static, bring them in and out effects that you just leave on. But these are the finishers. These in a combo are just totally fantastic. We have different mix options. This will also change our sound, and an air option, which I've had all the way up. So we get a huge boost in the high end. Take this off. Go for subtle. Neutral. Bring us down to neutral. Open. Distinct. Glitz. I'm gonna go ahead and leave it on open. And then we've got over here our width, our focus, and our volume. So these are more things to control how it sonically sits in our track. So a ton of controls here. Sounds really great. So let's go ahead, let's make some actual phrases. So we're gonna go ahead and go from like level 1, sort of, you don't play piano, so you're gonna be relying more heavily on the player engine. And then I might use more of my piano playing ability as we go further on down the line. But what I like to do when I'm, you know, about to start writing something is I will find a style phrase that I really like. And if I don't like what's currently in here, I'll just change it to something that I vibe with a little bit more. And then all you have to do is hit one note and just use that at the beginning, right? So I'm going to just hit a single note. It'll pick a chord. It'll figure it out for us. It won't be as sophisticated as what we could do if we gave it a few more notes, but we'll start out just from sort of level 1 here. So I'm just gonna go ahead and hit a note. There you go, we got a chord. Change the note. So we can do it with just a single note and make a pattern. So let's go ahead and record this. I kind of like this. And you could try out a different phrase. Like maybe we try out one other phrase real quick. Let's go up a phrase. And, you know, we'll mess around. I'm going to go back to the prior phase. I kind of like what we had. I'm going to go ahead and hit record, and let's record something. So let's go ahead and do this. Okay, so let's say that that's our phrase. We're gonna wanna clean this up a bit to make the MIDI hit more consistently. And now we could try a subtle overlap, see if that makes a big difference. So let's go ahead and do that, because these breaks throw it off just a smidge. So I'm gonna undo what I did, Control A to select all the notes, and then hold Alt, click drag. Just make them all a little bit longer. Just be aware that this last note will cause the pattern to play all the way through pattern 9, or measure 9, before it loops back. So if you don't want that, you could get rid of this. But in general, when we have patterns out, we're going to want this behavior so that when things overlap, it'll loop nicely. So now we have this. And then here we could go ahead and tune these up maybe a little bit tighter for these and see how that goes. So let's go ahead and select all these. To select a region, you hold Control, quick drag. So let's undo that small change I did here so we can apply it to all the notes in this region. We'll just tighten these up a smidge. These longer Cs, I think, work out. I brought it in just so it would loop nicely. But if I ever run into issues with patterns, I might go back and change this. So there you go. That's pattern one. That's the easiest way to do this. Let's go ahead and look at sort of a level up here. So we're going to go ahead and get rid of this one. I'm going to hit F5, not F5, F6 to bring up my track. I'm going to go to a new pattern. I'm going to go to number 2. And this one we're going to change up. Let's look for a different pattern. Let's keep the preset the same. Just look for another pattern. Let's go for, I don't know, Sunshine Bright. That looks fine. Or let's go for something a bit quicker this time. Now, quicker is relative because we're at the same speed, but the tempos are different. So it causes the patterns to just be different. So let's pick another pattern. Maybe this time we pick out a progression that we want to go for. Like let's play C minor, F minor, G minor, and maybe F minor again. I don't know. So we stay to 4 chords. So let's first experiment. Let's find a pattern. I actually already kind of like this one. And we'll start C minor, F minor, G minor, F minor. Now in this case, maybe we write it in because I want to show you some things you can do with inversions. So let's find C minor first. Where is it on the keyboard? It's up here is where we are. So C minor is C, E flat, G. And we want this to be, and by the way, what I just did there is I hold shift and right click, and it'll bring up a cut tool that deletes everything to the right of it, and the left will be left alone. It's pretty handy when you have stuff that's really long, so you don't have to delete it also. So here we go. We got C minor, then we'll do F minor. Since this is a minor chord, we can just move this up to F. We move it up to G, and we move it back down to F. Now, this is pretty blocky. It sounds like this. And what's happening is the pattern is getting restarted every time because we're hitting entirely new notes. This causes the pattern to reset. So if we want the pattern to continue, we want these notes to overlap a little. Now, something I've noticed here already is I'd really like the voicing to be different. Sometimes the chord engine, if you just move something up an octave, it will change the chord. But in this case, it doesn't. It's the same either way. But changing the bass note changes the inversion, and that will absolutely have an effect on the chord. So let's say that we want to start in first inversion, meaning the thirds in the bass. This just looks a little smoother. It'll probably be a bit nicer of a sound. And then maybe we bring this one down an octave. And maybe we bring this one down an octave. Who knows? Maybe that's the progression we want. But you can experiment with what note is the lowest note. This can add a lot of flavor. And now here, this note is the same. So maybe we carry this over so that the pattern will continue. And then right here, if we want the pattern to continue, there are no notes that are the same between this chord and the previous chord. So we might just add a little overlap just to keep that pattern from resetting. And we might do the same here since we run into the same issue. And I'm looking for stuff, we go down and then up. This probably will be okay. If this note rings out too much, we might look for something that has more of a roll in the chord. Like this F might sound better as the overlap, but let's see. See that G right there added that flavor when it hit. Maybe we don't like that flavor, so maybe we'll use the D instead. No, 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 absolutely not the D. But this is what you can do. You can try this out. I tend to play things in. So if you don't find one that you like, then what you can do is you could try changing up the pattern. So which one are we hitting here? Is it the A? Let's set down a pattern, and to make the note a different color, select it, pick a different color up here in the corner, and hit Alt-C. That way we just know, these are doing something different. These are like our notes. This is going to select our pattern. And on this last one, to make this just sound a little bit smoother, we might go up to a different pattern just to make sure, it'll flow and not seem so oddly repetitive right there. And what we could do too to just make it flow a bit is maybe we try out a different pattern on these. We have it come in right here. We want a little bit of a gap here just so that things are absolutely separated. And I like to err on the side of caution and just put little holes on these so that the instructions, there's absolutely no overlap. And there you go. So that could be our pattern, and then this could loop. And there's our second pattern. So let's go ahead, let's make another, this time trying out something maybe a little bit fancier. Let me show you a technique I like to use. I'm gonna use my hotkeys because I'm not used to using the buttons up here. So we're gonna go ahead, bring this up. So now we're gonna go to number 3. Okay, so this is gonna be our third one. Let's choose another style. I don't know, let's go for 160. Let's see what this has got for us. Let's pick another pattern. Yeah, that's kind of nice. So something you can try out that's kind of fun is as you add notes, it will change up how the chord engine interprets what you're doing. So what we can do is we can just play 2 notes and the chord engine will pick a chord that goes for that, like that. And then we could add on a 3rd note and it's going to, all of a sudden the chord engine is going to have more info and it's going to pick a new chord. And this could be a fun way to vary things without playing like a ton of notes. So we could come up with something like that. So let's come up with a chord progression that we think is kind of cool. So let's go ahead and let's write it out. I like to play things in, but let's write it out just so you can see sort of how it works. So let's find that E. It's right there. So I'm going to put down an E. And since these are going to be regular notes, I'm going to select it and hit Alt-C to change the color of the selected notes. And so we're going to go these 2 notes like so. And then we will add that 3rd note. So we're going to add that B, which is the 5th. And so this will make an E major chord. And then we're going to go down and we're going to do the same thing, but we're going to do it on A flat. And I do want some of this overlap to occur. Now to get the overlap, we're going to need to pick a note. I'm just going to have the E hang over just a touch. And then we're going to do the same thing here. And we're just going to go back and forth between these 2. You don't have to write these like complicated patterns. Repetition is kind of king. And then on this one, maybe we do something a touch different. Like maybe we add in another note and just sort of see what it does with that. And then we have it repeat. Right now, there's a little bit of a hang off, this right here, which is why it's not repeating nicely. But if we were to have 2 patterns overlapping, this repeat would keep it smooth as we write out multiple patterns. But let's just hear it with just a forced loop. There you go. So that's another thing you could try out that's kind of cool. For the last two, let's try sort of bringing in multiple things and writing out maybe a little bit more of a cool progression. One of my favorites is to use the Phrygian mode. So let's take a look at that. I'm going to just hit F6. This is going to drive me totally bananas. All right, so we're going to go to a new pattern. We're going to go ahead and let's bring this up and detach it and bring up the piano roll. We'll move this on over. Let's pick another one. I don't know. Let's go for one of these ones at the end here. They look kind of cool. Let's pick a random pattern. Let's use a, I don't know. What is this? An E flat? Let's use an E flat as our pattern. So this time, let's use some, so the Phrygian mode has a flat 2 in there. So let's go C minor, D flat minor, or D flat major. Let's go C minor, D flat major. Oops, I meant to go to C minor. But that's kind of the idea. So let's try that out, and then we'll mess with some of the phrases this time. So let's go for that. We're going to go put down a C, E flat, G. Then we're going to go for a D, F, A flat. Then we're going to go down to a G, B. Do we want B major? Let's just stick with D minor. And then maybe we'll add a fourth note here, like a 7, to make it a little bit fancier. Wow. That was pretty cool, that whatever that was. I haven't messed with that. And so let's go ahead and see just how this sounds out the gate. Okay, let's bring the G up, just so that things are in there. Different version might be a bit better. Nah, let's go one more. If we bring it down an octave, will that affect it? Let's see. Yeah. Let's try this. For our patterns, let's go ahead and put down our note for our pattern right here. We'll keep it the same for these. I'm just going to go ahead and make sure it's defined for both of them. Meaning, we could leave it open. It's going to be just playing this. And then maybe we go for a different pattern on these. Let's find another one. Yeah, that's pretty nice. So now we have this loop here. Sounds like this. We can grab this last little chunk. There we go. And I would like to bring these down. And maybe these down as well. Okay, you know what? Let's actually leave these high, and then let's copy these over, and let's take advantage of that right there. So we're gonna take these, Control Shift down, or just Control down, and now we'll have this nice loop. Same chords, but just different versions. Okay, let's get rid of this overlap here, just a smidge. Let's bring this up just to vary it the second time. Is this the same sound? Yeah, it is. Let's bring this up as well. Instead, maybe we bring this down. it's just a bit of a game sometimes figuring out how to get the chord engine to do something that you want it to, because it's got to reinterpret it as like a guitar chord. This might be it without going high, so maybe we'll just leave it alone. But now we have this neat variation between the two parts. All right, now let's make one more. So you can see how easy it is though to knock these out, and it's really easy to continue any one of these. That's part of the reason why this plugin is so dang cool. The player engine is just super well done. Let's go ahead, and we haven't even messed with anything. We're just looking at chords and ways we can get things. Now this one, I'm gonna play stuff. I'm gonna look for something that I think sounds pretty cool. So I'm gonna hunt a little bit, and once I find something, we'll go ahead and play it in. Okay, so we're gonna run with this. All right, so first, I didn't record with the metronome just because metronome was throwing me off pretty good. So I'm just gonna get rid of that. There is one chord in here I'm not a huge fan of. Let's go ahead and fix that chord first, and then we will quantize stuff. And I believe I want this D to just resolve, right? That's the chord I want. I want an F, a B flat, a C, an E flat, and an F. C, E flat, F. And then this C goes out and this resolves down to an A. So it should be like that. Okay, so we'll figure out the rhythm here in just a second. So let's go ahead, let's take this, let's align it to the grid a little bit. Let's hit Alt-Q, just so that things are a little more spot on. Let's come in here and just nudge it over one. And this is looking pretty good. We'll go ahead and put it at the beginning. It's fine. It's also good. Maybe we want these to come over all the way. Let's see. We kind of need to play it from the start in order to hear how to line up. Yeah, I liked it more the way it was before. Wow, that actually came out great. We're gonna leave it like that. I might revisit what this little bit here is doing. I don't know if maybe we extend one of these, if it'll help the transition here a bit. And so with this, since I'm not totally happy with this, I might try just a different pattern here for a second. So right now we are playing this B flat, which is this one right here. If we move it, we could see it move. So maybe right here, I put this, I go to a separate pattern just to sell this one section here a little bit. And you can see we're using a sort of a mixture of the techniques. We're going to mix up patterns. We're going to play 2 notes and then augment the chord as it interprets it by adding more notes. And I make quite heavy use of that throughout. And, you know, you get these much more sophisticated progressions. And you can go ahead and add in little things here or there to see if it adds something you like. Oh, let's, well, I'm playing the common phrases. I want to play this B flat. Here we go. So let's see if we can't make this just a little bit more. Maybe we need a touch of overlap here. And sometimes what helps is actually giving these a head start. So you see how some of these start actually a little bit early? This can sometimes be a bit of a good thing. We have these overlap like that. It just sounds a little bit more natural. Much better. So this is going to be our final result for this. And I'm going to really quick color these like we talked about earlier, just so I know they're doing a different thing. So there you go, 5 patterns with Amber 2. You could see a few techniques I like to make use of to improve transitions. I actually was thinking about taking what we did here and applying something sort of similar over here to just make it sound a little more natural. But you can get these really great guitar parts with like a nice chord bed, super fast, super easy. Sounds great. If you have any questions about anything you saw here, let me know down in the comments. I'm also interested to just hear your thoughts. What do you think of the patterns? Are there any techniques that you like to use that are a bit different? I'm always open to, learning something new. Subscribe and hit that bell icon for future videos, and have a blessed day.